Good morning, everybody. Now they come to live. Spirit and coffee. Got my coffee here. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yumma, yumma, yumma. So hopefully everybody had a great holiday. New Year's is approaching, at least in the Western world. And I have already done my vision statement, and which I'm excited about. And who knows if anybody's even awake because, as you know, um, it's vacation for most people. And so most people are probably like, maybe they're asleep, or I don't know if people are really working right now. But it doesn't matter. It's kind of early. This is like early time for me to do the show. But I'm very proud of myself. I got up at 4:30, did my Kundalini practice, and I have my routine and my schedule set up. So just gonna bring in the new year powerful and strong and ready, and who knows what this next year is gonna bring, right? Let's just pray that it's going in the direction of the light. Fingers crossed. Anywho, so we'll see if anybody even gets on here because of the time frame. It's kind of early, at least in the Western. Well, I want to get started with the Healing Through the Dark Emotions, Miriam Greenspan, The Wisdom of Grief, Fear, and Despair. Powerful book. Boom. Pretty cool. And just an opportunity to support individuals into understanding how to utilize their dark emotions and what that means for them. And how do we allow ourselves to transition through that, okay? So we are on page 13, and this is about listening to pain and emotion phobia, because we have emotion phobia especially, and I keep saying the Western world because other parts of the world not necessarily, or maybe not as much, or perhaps different worldview. But typically the Western worldview is like, don't have emotion, that's not good. So here to say that it's powerful and it is good when we know how to utilize it, okay? The power of listening is the foundation of healing. My first child lived and died in a hospital for children. Aaron arrived, long and pink and unnamed sorrow in his seemingly ancient eyes, his spirit encased in flawlessly formed body that, like a flower, faded and died 66 days after his birth. In the days of my vigil with Aaron, I didn't leave the hospital except to go home to sleep. For 2 months of his life, my world was Division 33, the neonatal neurology floor, a world of infants with shunts in their heads, children with bombed out, vacant stares, others whose brain chemistry was being slowly eroded by persistent, uncontrollable seizure. A world of deepening heart monitors, brain scans, and endless medical tests of parents with darkened eyes and unrelenting grief. A world of daily vigil, prayer, incessant fear. What was wrong with my baby? Would I ever take him home? On my first ventures outside of the world was a necessary trip to the dentist. Dr. Ross inspected my teeth and gums and did whatever he did. I was not paying attention to my teeth because it was elsewhere. Good morning. Who was that? Say good morning, whoever you are. I didn't see who it was. So good morning to you. Because I was elsewhere with Aaron. Are you okay? Are you ill? The dentist asked me. He unexpectedly solicitousness was touching. I responded simply, I'm not sick. I've given birth to my child who can't leave the hospital. The tears flowed from my eyes. Good morning, Kumar. Unbidden. Without a word, the dentist turned and walked out of the room. At first, I thought he had gone to get some implement, something he needed to finish the dental work. Clearly, he wasn't done because I had left pinion to my elevated chair with the dental tray in my lap. But Dr. Ross never came back. I waited for some time before extracting myself from the chair and jumping down to the floor. I remembered walking out on the street. Where could I see only black and white shades of gray? My perception had altered. The colors had drained from my world. Why was this moment so memorable? The dentist was not a friend of mine. He had no expectations that he should attend to anything but the state of my teeth. His lapse in professional manners was a big deal. Yet he absurdly of being left stranded in the dental chair because of the dissented man couldn't bear to be in the presence of the pain sent profound shock waves through me. So again, hello, hi. Was this weapon wolf? Weapon X wolf. What's up? I like that. What's up? Something larger, common experience of people who are grieving, a sense of living life that cannot be listened to. The isolation of feeling this way is stark enough to drain the colors from one's world. So again, so she goes to get her, her teeth fixed, and she's going through this loss. And then the dentist asks, well, what's going on? And then he tells her, right? And as he tells her, as she tells him, Wolverine. Oh, so you're Wolverine. Good morning, Trish. And as the dentist, tries to, work on her teeth, and she tells him this stuff, he just leaves her there. And that's sort of kind of how people are, right? When we're going through some kind of a pain or suffering, or people don't know how to respond, especially if they're not in tap with their own emotional pain and anguish. They just sort of leave people and say, I don't know. That's it. I'm done. I'm just going to walk away from this, right? Like, that's not what I'm paid to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when we're able to show compassion and connection and connect to individuals and work with them through their suffering, right, it lends for such a powerful dynamic. And if not, it's okay. It's really difficult because we ourselves have to tap into our own suffering and understand what that means for ourselves before we can actually support another. Because otherwise we get drawn into, because there's people that want to save other people, right? We'll get drawn into sort of that emotional state of being, rather than allowing themselves to understand that there is this sort of, I don't want to say this there's a boundary there, right? That what's yours is yours and what's not yours is not yours. And you don't have to take on the emotional pain of other individuals. It's hard for some people, especially people who are very empathic or can feel the pain of others suffering. Sometimes becomes too much. And that's where boundaries come in. But you don't have to isolate yourself so much that you totally dismiss someone who may be going through some emotional anguish and pain. Right? There's a way that you can do both and. But what she was saying is, hey, look, I told the dentist just left me there. Just totally left me there. And I was going through this pain and the professionalism of how do I deal with this? But I can guarantee that the dentist was probably not comfortable with going through their own emotional pain, or perhaps they too had the same story and hadn't dealt with it. You just don't know, right, with people or individuals. And Wolverine, I think you left. I'm not sure if you're still here. I'm sorry, I can't answer because I don't do these live videos. I do them on Facebook as well. So if you do call in, they won't be able to hear you. At least I don't think so. Maybe they will. I don't know. I guess it's something we can try. Just the voice coming through. I don't know. It's hooked up to the Yeti mic, so I'm wondering if that would work, perhaps. I guess I could test it. Okay, so without a listener, the healing process is aborted. Human beings, like plants that bend towards the sunlight, bend towards others in an innate healing tropism. There are times when being truly listened to is more critical than being fed. So, and I like that. So being listened to is critical. Sometimes, and this is funny because we can go into sort of the sacred feminine and sacred masculine, right? The sacred feminine from says, I want to what? I want to speak. I want to communicate, right? And the sacred masculine says what? I want to fix things. I want to fix it. Now, I'm not talking about men, women, but we do kind of wear those gender roles at times. And so women typically want to communicate. That's what we want. We want to be able to communicate what's going on with us, not necessarily wanting to fix it. The fixing it comes from us communicating it. We don't necessarily need a response or I know how to fix this for you. It's more of a, can I just have someone listen to me and what I'm going through? I just need to get it out, up and out of my system so that I'm able to just leave it behind, not necessarily looking for an answer or response, just looking to be able to communicate. And that's what it means. And sometimes we want to be listened to rather than fed, like fed information or fed advice or fed what we should or shouldn't do, right? It's more like, can you just listen to what I have to say? That's all I need. And I've talked about this before, and I had a dear friend of mine who, she told me, we were part of leadership team together and stuff. And she said, hey, I have a question for you. And we do this sometimes. She goes, I would like to maybe have a support system where maybe could I call you and then just say, look, I need to vent. Not necessarily looking for any kind of response or I need to fix, just someone to listen to. And then she said, when I'm done venting, I'll say I'm done. And then the only question that you can ask is, what are you committed to? Or what do you want to do from here? That's it. And I said, absolutely. And I thought that was an amazing way to support people or support each other. Because we get to communicate it out. We get to let it, and we're not getting fed anymore. Sometimes we're overstimulated. We have too much. We don't need any more, right? We just simply need support. Hey, Deanna, how are you? Cheers to you, girlfriend. Keep up the workouts. I see us all working out, right? Our age group. It's pretty cool. I like it. Makes me motivated. We're all like, we want to feel healthy. Welcome to 40. Woo woo. So, we want to be listened to. We want someone to lend an ear. And what we have too much, if we're almost overstimulated, it's like we don't need more input from, the outside world. So a lot of what you can do, and this is really big, I think, whenever you're going through some kind of a distress or emotional anguish or pain, that you say, okay, look, if you go to a friend, or even if it's your boyfriend, husband, whoever it is that you're talking to, you can say, look, I just need to vent. I'm not looking for advice. I don't need you to fix this. I just need someone to listen. Can you just listen? And if you can't, that's okay. I can find someone who can. Okay. Ooh, you're an early morning gym person. I like that. I'm going to be going to the gym after this. I typically work out in the evening though, because I have a whole day full of stuff to do. Hello, Jimmy. Is it Jimmy? Oh, no, it's not Jimmy. I'm just making up my own thing. It's Matthew. And Trish. Mingdom. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sometimes I don't say them right. But we don't need any more. So you could ask individuals to just be a soundboard for you. Just like, can you please just listen to this? I don't need any response. I just need to talk. I just need to let it out. And that's that. And, as saying, look, if it's something that you can't do, it's okay. I can ask somebody else. But asking them to be actually honest with you in yes, I can. Okay, so I can be that ear for you. Right. And I think that this is a powerful, good morning, Peggy, a powerful dynamic that you could set up with a friend or an individual. And I have friends like that, right? I have friends who say, okay, do you have a minute? I just need to talk. Sure. Got a minute. And then they just talk and I just listen and that's it. Right. And no, let me try to fix it. Let me give you advice. None of that. They already have enough. I'm sure they already know what they need to do. They just need to get it out, up and out. And that's part of a healing process that we go through, right? The healing process, and allow ourselves to heal a little bit more, and without having to fix it necessarily in that moment. Sometimes we don't want to fix it in that moment. Sometimes we just want to go through it and be with it, be with that pain, be with that anguish, and be with the grief. Sometimes allow ourselves to go through the process of it. Okay. Okay, I learned to listen to pain early in my life. My birthplace and my first home was a displaced person camp for homeless refugees in southern Germany. The remnants of Hitler's war against the Jews, the Holocaust, not recorded in my personal memory but imprinted in my cells, was my legacy. My Polish Jewish parents had survived starvation, forced labor, imprisonment, and destruction of their families and their world. Their shattered yet persistent faith in life was the direct inspiration for my conception. I didn't hear my parents' story until I was 13 years old, but as far back as I can remember, I felt their grief, fear, and despair, attuned to the unspoken emotional energies that permeated my childhood. I grew up with a sense of their power and developed a strong faith that listening to suffering would bring its own gifts. Not too surprisingly, listening became my life's work. I'm comfortable with suffering that is spoken rather than silenced. I'm energized by listening. From this work, I have seen again and again the essence of healing emotional pain lies in listening to what hurts, in both knowing how to listen to oneself and being listened to by another. Now, this thing is important, right? Now, this woman has been through tons of, good morning, Oracle of God. Good morning, Javo. Good morning, Quadi. Oh, hey, Quadi. Hey, Karen. Good morning. And so this woman has been through she's been through a lot of turmoil, right? A lot of pain and anguish, but she understood that the ability to listen to that pain was what was powerful for her. So in that power of listening, not just to herself, but to others, because of the understanding that listening to other people's pain, other people listening, just being the listening, that has some kind of force of healing with an individual, for individuals, just merely listening. Part of Spirit and Coffee, when you think about it, is a chance for even me to heal, because I'm listening to my own self-talk. Right? I'm talking. You guys are listening. Good morning, MA. Good morning, Radio Parlesk. Listening to myself, but also my internal dialogue, but also sharing, right? Hopefully that you guys, I know sharing is like you guys typing out or whatever, but I love when you guys share so that I can hear what's going on in your life, right? And just listen. Just listen. So you give the gift to somebody of healing by listening to them, is basically what it is. And it's a gift when you have an individual that you can go to that can just listen to you, not to try to fix it, not to try to give you advice, and not to try to make it right or fix it or anything like that, but just simply be there, open arms, and just listen. There, right there is one of the healing process through dark emotions. That takes, of course, a person that you trust, right? Someone that you trust, that you can open up to, that you can, and trust that the individual themselves can just be there, an open vessel, not necessarily trying to sway or change your worldview or your mindset, but just be there to support you. And you have the opportunity to do the exact same thing for somebody. Because when we look at communication, right, and we see communication, good morning, chewing. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sorry. That when we look at communication, that typically what happens when someone's talking to us is we're looking for a response, right, in our head. Our head has this dialogue going on. We're listening to the individual, and then we want to speak. We're just waiting for our chance to speak. When we're listening intently to somebody without trying to give our advice, but just to be with them, just to be there through the healing process, is to just listen without trying to give a response. And that's hard. It's a practice. It takes time. It is not the easiest thing to do because, of course, we want to be like, look, I know what can fix you. I know what's going to work. Good morning, Nazareth. So we say that, right? But that's not necessarily what's good for the other individual. And I feel like the most powerful thing that we can do at times, good morning, Matt, is to ask powerful questions, for individuals. So if we can open ourselves to listen, we become that healing for that individual. If we're not there to fix it and we're just merely there to listen, we might have questions out of curiosity, which is a part of what I do. I have those curiosities where I'm like, well, why this, and sometimes it's too much too. Sometimes they're like, I don't want to be asked questions. I just want someone to listen to me. Okay, cool. So I'm going to listen. Good morning, Avoca. And that is the thing. It's like once we allow ourselves to be that listener, we now have become healers of the world. It doesn't take, you don't have to be this world-renowned healer that's like does miracles. A miracle itself is very simple. And people are looking for these big miracles, right? The tiny things, right? It's the tiny things. Good morning. Good morning, Scott. The tiny things that we do that become big miracles. When we listen intentionally, right, without trying to fix a person, without trying to give them advice, what do? We open up the opportunity for the individual to discover new possibility within themselves, new possibility to arise within themselves, new ways of viewing things. Because see what happens, right? If there's somebody who's constantly in there, do this, do that, you should do this, you should do that, is they're taking advice of other people. They're not listening to that internal voice that's within them. And it gets steered away from them actually honing or harnessing the power that they have within themselves, which they do. Everybody has the power within them to heal themselves. But you become part of that healing process when you allow yourself to be open to just listening. That tiny healing can facilitate a huge thing. So we think it's small, yet we all can be healers. All of us. We have all been given that right to heal. And the healing process comes from us co-participating with our brothers and sisters. And part of that is allowing and facilitating an open space for dialogue to happen without judgment, without needing to fix it, and just allowing it to be what it is. Sometimes people have to be with their suffering, and that's hard. That's hard for some people. Like I don't, and that's okay. You're better off telling an individual, look, I can't be your ears right now. I'm going through my own stuff, but I have this person that you can talk to and they'll just listen. Or letting them know, look, let me get through my stuff. Or you guys can support each other. Okay, well, I have stuff too. So maybe when you're done, then I can go. And then you take turns and you just talk. It's like, all right, you get 5 minutes or however long, you get 10 minutes to go ahead and vent and go. And then you just listen. And then it's like, okay, and there's nothing after. Maybe a question, maybe not, maybe just nothing at all. And then your turn to go, and then you go on for 10 minutes. And that's it. Nothing more. But you've opened up the experience of healing, right? And that's what I love about coaching is that you could ask a powerful question, and sometimes that question will facilitate or ignite that dialogue internally in an individual, and they'll start to think about things inside themselves and look and search for answers within themselves so that they can facilitate an internal healing for themselves. The healing itself is, yes, the open space of dialogue, but it's also, like I said, the opening gate for possibility to arise. new possibility for an individual, a new way of them actually engaging the situation to support their self through it. So again, opening up the space for healing, and that's what Miriam Greenspan is talking about. She's saying to open up the dialogue, just to be the listener. Without a listener, the healing process is aborted. Human beings, like plants that bend toward the sunlight, bend towards others in an innate healing tropism. See? There are times when being truly listened to is more critical than being fed. I love that line because we just listen. You don't have to feed anybody any advice. Not easy. I think we have at least in this culture, like our culture, it's like Western culture, it's like, I have the answer for you. I can fix it. You can't fix other people. And here's the reality. You don't fix anybody. We can't even fix ourselves sometimes. How can we fix other people? I'm like, go fix yourself and see if you can even do that. It's a lifelong journey of fixing, right? It's like you're trying to figure it out. And we spend our whole life not ever, hopefully in our death, they were like, oh, now I get it. It was just about love or whatever, right? That's what I say. Life is love and that's it. But throughout the journey of this thing called love and finding our way back to love is a bunch of broken stuff, or at least it looks broken. We're trying to fix it. Instead of just accept it and allow ourselves to go through the process and communicate it. Sometimes we become our own worst enemy. We make it harder than it needs to be too. So again, open up the vessel to listen. I do this a lot with my family, especially my niece. She's a young Padawan, I call her. And she, this year, everything boils down to love. Yes, it does, Kwadi. Sure it does. But to get there, to boil everything out, seems kind of, it's not always easy, right? We want to live in this beautiful utopia, but it's just this 3-dimensional time space is too bipolar. The balance isn't in place all the time, so it's okay. The pendulum swinging one side too much. It's like we're on this big clock, tick-tocking across from one extreme to the other, trying to find our middle, trying to find our balance. Just laugh. But at the end, right, when we find that balance, it's love, right? It's all love and bliss. And everything's good and harmonious. But this world doesn't allow for that all the time. So we just get to love the extremes too. So yeah, my niece, so her and I, I still guide her and I'm still guiding her and I'm going to guide her till I don't care if she's 100 years old. She's still going to be a baby in my eyes. But I literally will say something. And if she's upset, I give her space and time. I just let her go and do her thing. And when she's ready, she comes and talks to me. And sometimes it's just me listening. And I have to be okay with that. And I'm like, you know what? I get to listen to what she has to say without trying to fix it, without trying to judge it, without making her wrong. And so, but what happens is when she is down a path and I am giving her advice as her elder, she listens to me a little better because she knows that I appreciate and recognize that she's a human being and has feelings too, and that those get to be recognized and listened to without judgment. Rather, they're anti-bug the hell out of me. Okay, well, fine. That's okay. I know why I'm bugging you, but I don't have to tell her that, right? I could just say, okay, that's fine. You have your feelings. And I can listen to it. Or you've done this, or can I give you feedback? Sure. And she tells me, okay, cool. It's good, just to get it out. Or this is what I'm going through with my mom, with my sister, with whatever, and not trying to give her advice or fix it. Just letting her have her space to talk. And then she'll go reflect and come back, and then she'll say, oh, here's what I know I need to do. So people, when you give them that space, they come up with the answers for themselves. And it's kind of funny because this will happen. They'll come up with the answers for themselves, and then they'll thank you for coming up with the answer because they think that you've done something, but you've done nothing but just listen. I mean, it's happened several times. I'm like, I didn't do anything. Like, you did it. I want you to get that you're the one who had the power within you. I didn't do anything. I just listened to you, and you listened to yourself. And when you were able to listen to yourself, you were able to find the answer was within you the whole time. That's another thing that it does when you open up the space of listening, or when someone listens to you, is you start to talk and listen to your internal dialogue. You hear it come out and you're like, whoa, what's that all about? Right? I've let people talk. Like, I'll ask one question when I meet someone, and then they'll give me their whole life story, and I'll just sit and listen. I won't say anything. I'll just listen. And then they go, wow, how did I get here? What did you even ask me? How did I end up here? And I kind of laugh because I understand that people need a space to communicate this stuff out, get it out. And then I just laugh, and then like, well, what about you? And then, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of boring. That's what I tell them. I'm just boring. I just want to hear what you have to say. And then asking questions. And before you know it, they're like, wow, that was amazing. Thank you. You taught me this. I'm like, no, I didn't. I just listened. You taught yourself that. It's just funny because they think you're giving them this advice, and you're not giving them anything. They're giving it to themselves. And then they're like, wow. And then they're going to take that advice for themselves because it came from them, and they'll run with that. So it's a healing process. So again, this is a Monday morning of healing, where we get to support each other in healing. How? By listening to each other. It's that simple. Not trying to fix it, not trying to make it right, just listening without anything after, just being open to listening. And you facilitate the healing process for people. So there you are. You're a healer. Boom. I peg you guys a healer. I crown you with the healer crown of listening. So go out and heal your people and heal yourself as well. There you go. You guys are all now healers. And it wasn't even hard. You didn't have to take a whole class. You didn't have to go through these woo-woo crystal healings. All you had to do was listen. Period. Facilitates the greatest healing we can possibly have. We just want to communicate our experience, get it out so that we can start to heal internally. And you being a listener, you become a healer of the world, of the planet, of your community, of your family. There you go. You all are healers. Simple. All right. So there you have it. It is a great Monday morning. Have a magnificent, magnetic, marvelous, miraculous, monumental, I've never used that word, Monday morning. And of course, I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. And then I'm going a little vacay. So who knows? Maybe I'll take my equipment with me just so that I can do Spirit and Coffee still. But we shall see. But I love you guys. Have the best New Year ever if you celebrate New Year. And work on those goals. Get yourself going, up and running. And I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. Bye.